Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit of my literary lore. The first two books I'm actually going to talk to you about are young adult books. Warriors Into the Wild by Erin Hunter. This is where a lot of my love for reading started. I became a voracious reader after reading these books. Nothing felt as good as following this plotline. And next is Twilight. I actually have a little bit of an interesting relationship with this book. These books came out when I was around 8, 9, 10 years old, and people in my elementary school were reading them. I was not allowed to read Twilight until I was in high school. And yes, I did respect my mother's opinion on that, and I didn't read the books. But after that, I was like, wow, okay, it's good. I actually got into these again in college during COVID, just like everyone else, but I watched the movies for the first time. I finished the book series, and I was just like, wow, this is great! And it's just always been something that, like, if I'm having a bad time in life, I reread this. And something about it, especially this first book. Next, we have a few heavy hitters. First, I have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I read this book on an audiobook right after I had started my first big girl job. I binged it in one entire day, and something about it, the audiobook made it feel like this little whimsy vignette where you just jump in and jump back out with Connell and Marianne. And I finished this at the hotel bar, and I'm crying at the hotel bar over a plate of salmon. And I don't know why, it just was so impactful and the story felt so real. It felt so good. Next is Bunny by Mona Awad. This is one of my favorite weird girl fiction books. It is just so odd and you really don't understand what's going on even after finishing it. And it's one of those books where you just have to go with it. And this was probably the first book I read where I was like, it's not tied up in a pretty little bow. And it has led me to reading a lot more weird fiction. And I love Mona Awad as a writer. It's unparalleled in weird girl fiction. And lastly, Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. Everyone totes around The Handmaid's Tale. That one's really good. Check that one out too, obviously, but Oryx and Crake is so underrated. This is about like techno-feudalism. Something about this felt so reminiscent of how our lives could be, and it talks about playing God, and it's sci-fi, and I've never really connected with a sci-fi book, but this is my sci-fi book. And the last two books are more recent literary lore. All About Love by Bell Hooks, New Visions. Everyone loves this book. I am no different. This is the quintessential book about love. If you are trying to figure out what love means in life, I do think you should check this one out. And Downtown Owl by Chuck Klosterman was my #1 book of 2025. This chronicles a small town and small town antics, and something about it just like really spoke to the time that I was in college and post-grad, and it is so good. It's a little bit slower, but I do think if you've never lived in like a rural area, like, this book will help you understand the way those people think and act. And Chuck Klosterman just embodies a small town so well. Let me know some of your literary lore in the comments below.